did this year what I sometimes do, which is go to a friend's house for Thanksgiving because his mother hates me, like hates me with a fiery passion because of my politics. And this time I decided not to get snarky and push back. Now, if this was one of the high holy days, I'm all in. Breaking the Yom Kippur fast, I'm going to lean into the politics because I'm cranky from not eating. But this, I gave it a little bit of a pass. And I left early.
Oh, well, that helps.
I had to leave early because I had a Newsmax hit on Thanksgiving Day, which I was almost mad that they even asked me to do it. And then, whatever. It gives me a reason to leave the dinner a little bit early. But the day after Thanksgiving, Black Friday, whereas people were spending a ton of money that they don't have on things they don't need but kind of want. They don't even really want it, but they've convinced themselves they want it. I went down to the tree lighting ceremony in downtown Seattle, right outside of the Westlake Mall. A lot of people were there. I'm not good with the counting of people, and anyone who says that they're very good at it, they're just lying to you. They're just taking a wild guess. So there were either maybe 1,500, 2,000 people there or 112,000. I'm not entirely sure. But there were definitely a lot of people there because I smelled the body odor of a lot of them. That's how close they got to me. And have you ever done the game of who is that smell emanating from? And then you have to judge people based on their look.
I was going to say, usually you can just tell by looking. But...
Yeah, but it's wrong. You're not supposed to. And every once in a while, you'll be surprised. But oftentimes, it's exactly who you think it is. And I'm standing there. It's getting cold, waiting for this, tree lighting ceremony as a Jew to begin. I have no connection whatsoever or desire to see it. But I was wondering whether or not the anti-Semites would show up. And I'm in the crowd. And because I'm there, number one, alone. Number two, for journalistic purposes. I started to get into my head and catch people staring at me. And someone who was very suspicious got right next to me. And I didn't think they were part of like the Antifa group or anything, or the anti-Semites. I just thought people thought I was either a terrorist or a cop who was undercover and I might be making some, arrest soon. Because when I don't try to blend into the crowd, which I had no intention of doing here in this case, because my safety wasn't at risk. When I don't blend in, I stick out. And it's always like I'm a narc of some kind. I always look like I'm an undercover cop, or depending on whether or not I shaved, I look like a terrorist. Just because I'm just standing there on my phone, pulling out, extended batteries for my phone, which kind of look like bombs. I had hand warmers, an electronic hand warmer I bought. Looks like I shouldn't have it. And I couldn't get out of my head. But it was a good way to get all the time to pass because finally our friend Bruce Harrell goes up like a Vita from the second floor of the mall to give his speech. And what would you assume would be the theme of a speech, even if it's from a politician, of a Christmas tree lighting ceremony? What would you think just the general theme would be?
Hope.
Right?
Yeah.
Family, coming together, fun stuff like that. Frivolous from a political standpoint, but given the time of year, given I was assuming this was a family-friendly event. There were a lot of kids there and families, it looked like. You would kind of expect that it would have nothing to do with politics. And it ends up getting into a political speech so completely and utterly unnecessarily, just turned into what started off as a little awkward and you're kind of wondering where he's going, almost like Bruce Harrell forgot what his speech was and he was just, he practiced in front of a mirror and made his wife watch him the entire time and cheer him on. He's just that kind of guy. He loves speeches. This is what he lives for. The only reason Bruce Harrell is in politics and is a mayor is because he likes to give speeches. Not doing anything based upon the message of his speech, but just speeches. He loves it. And so he clearly forgot how he wanted to get into it, but he's got this thing called the One Seattle, which is his project theme, his philosophy. We're one people, we're one city, we all come together, blah, 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 blah. And here's just a little bit about how it went.
When we do this, it's very important to realize that we are rebuilding this great city, and we will, in this state, prove to this country why we believe in reproductive rights.
What? Okay, so I will give him credit, even though I thought it was still unnecessary. At least at the beginning, he said we have to rebuild the city of Seattle, and oftentimes you don't hear that. That must have been a mistake on his part.
Freudian slip.
It really must have been. But then he says, we're going to prove to the country, first he said, we're going to prove to the state and to the country that we support reproductive rights.
While we love our LGBTQ plus community.
Yeah, go them!
While we will fight racism and social justice.
Oh, I began at the last one. You're going to fight social justice. So, again, I'm assuming that was a mistake. He's not going to fight social justice. But the whole premise of we're going to prove to the state and the country that we support these things. First of all, why would we have to prove anything to anyone? And second of all, are you under the impression that people don't think that Seattle is crazy far to the left?
Yeah, I don't think anybody doubts that.
Well, was there someone out there who's maybe coming from another liberal city? It's Portland or folks out in San Francisco or New York saying, you know what? I am so sick and tired of those progressives in name only over at Seattle. They never, ever do anything to show how crazy to the left they are. And I'm sick of just including them in our little club. I don't like this anymore. They're going to have to prove that they actually stand for progressive values, or we're not going to invite them to the holiday party in a few weeks. I don't like this. Was that happening anywhere?
I doubt it.
No, of course not. It's not happening anywhere. But what is the subtext here? That abortion is under threat in Seattle, that LGBTQ2IAS++ rights are under assault, that, what was the last one? Can't even remember anymore.
Social justice?
Social justice is something we all have to fight for. Like, the subtext is be wary of Donald Trump, right? The whole conversation here is about Donald Trump and how he's posing all these threats towards insert a number of quote unquote rights that folks on the left cherish and invent. We all have to be worried about that. We have to be on alert. Now, I'm not shocked that someone like Bruce Harrell holds that position, but do you have to do that at a tree lighting ceremony for Christmas?
I guess he just couldn't help himself.
Right? What, did he not have anything? He only spoke for, how long was the clip? 2.5 minutes, maybe 3?
Yeah.
Maybe, right? I mean, that's easy. That's an easy speech to give. Even if you're not good at giving speeches as a politician and you can sort of just get your way through it, but barely by the skin of your teeth, 3 minutes is very manageable. I've been talking for the last 8 minutes. Brilliantly, by the way. While incredibly tired and already losing my voice because I haven't done a show for a week.
You just had a week off.
Yeah, but you know, when you come back to work the first day after a long
That's
weekend,
true.
you're
That
tired.
first transition day's rough, yeah.
It's really bad. But 3 minutes is so doable. Insert some line about coming together as a family, setting aside any political differences. If you're going to mention politics, talk about how we should set aside the political differences. But as he was giving this speech, I couldn't help but view it in the context of all those lunatics who were telling folks who watch MSNBC, hey, y'all should not invite your family to Thanksgiving and Christmas if they're Trump supporters. You should take time off. And I was on Fox Business last week talking about that topic, and they had pulled a bunch of TikTok videos of people who are filming themselves talking about how they're doing the brave thing for their mental health by not going to the families' homes of, for Thanksgiving because they voted for Donald Trump or they're conservative. And, I'm just, for me, for my family, what's best for me and my mental health, I'm choosing not to hang out with them this year. It's going to hurt because I do love them. And they've never actually done anything that would directly hurt me. In fact, they've been rather supportive and gave me a $10,000 loan when I needed it most. But my uncle, he supports Donald Trump, so I'm not going to go over to his house like we always do every year. I can't. I'm doing it for my kid. Like a whole bunch of these videos spliced together. And I'm hearing him talk about the threat of Donald Trump without even having to say Donald Trump's name. And it was so off-putting. It was so off-putting, even when he ended up saying things that I don't even disagree with. The whole idea of having to rebuild Seattle, for example. I totally agree. It's inappropriate to do it at that moment.
We know who we are, Seattle. We know who we are. And we will continue to fight because here in Seattle, we play the long game.
Do we? Is that true? What long game do we play? I mean, I guess we are into year 18 or 19 of the 10-year plan to end homelessness.
Right.
It's kind of
It is taking a while, yeah.
That's a long game.
And I saw the most beautiful sight on my way here to our home. I saw children walking the streets downtown once again. We will not be a great city until every child is safe.
What he didn't tell you, those kids, gang members, they ended up robbing a 7-Eleven. Oh, he saw a couple of kids walking downtown where the bus core is, right? I mean, if you're catching a bus in and out of Seattle, you would have to get it there pretty much. But he saw some 14-year-old kid, or who he thought was 14 but was probably 23.
Yeah.
It was more likely, because downtown Seattle is still an absolute mess.
Every single child, every person. We will treat those who are sick. We will lead by love.
We're going to help people who are sick was just kind of weird and randomly inserted again. I think he had a set of talking points in his head, and he just forgot that one, so he inserted it at random. And it was weird. And I don't know if maybe I'm being hypersensitive because, number one, I can't stand him. And number two, I really can't stand him. And number three, I'm a Jew, and maybe as a Jew, I expected something different at the Christmas tree lighting ceremony. Because when I went last year, I went after the nonsense because I was on Sean Hannity that night. And I heard what had happened, so I went down there and I missed everything. But in my head, I thought it was going to be more family-focused.
So naive.
Right? Maybe that's on me, I guess. I mean, he even says...
You came here to celebrate a tree lighting, but I think it's a little more than that.
No, it's not. It's not more than that. It's just supposed to be that. That's it. We don't need... It's not a tree lighting ceremony that identifies as a political event. It's not how it works. I don't want that.
I think it's a reaffirmation in our human nature, a sense of...
What?
A sense of oneness.
Oh, God.
A sense of love, a sense of hope.
What are you talking about?
And this tree, this symbolism of this tree is going to give us all a little warm feeling.
What?
We are in this fight together.
Yeah.
Sound like a yoga instructor or something. A
Yeah,
sense of oneness.
It's just center on your oneness. Center. Now do the downward dog. No, fix your posture. There you go, Jason. You got it. He ends up saying, we know who we are, Seattle. And again, it's supposed to be this roaring speech where everyone comes together united under this progressive cause of insert progressive cause. But I would argue, yeah, well, we do know who we are as a city. Tacoma knows who Tacoma is as a city. Same for Sultan, the gem of Snohomish County. You can say that for pretty much every single city. But I would argue that Seattle in particular is a city that desperately needs real leaders who can do more than just deliver a inappropriate speech at a Christmas tree lighting ceremony. We need at least a leader who can read the room, understand what this is supposed to be about, and focus on what everyone in that moment, especially the families, were feeling, which is a love for one another, a focus on traditions like lighting a Christmas tree, and the general joy of this holiday season. That's what this should have been about. But he let politics overshadow the very simple act of pushing a button to light a tree. And it wasn't even Bruce Harrell who pushed the button. It was some tech guy off stage.